No matter how bullish you are on crypto, it's impossible to deny that with every scam, rug pull, or honest mistake, mainstream sentiment towards crypto sours a little. But what can be done before crypto is written off in the eyes of those in the mainstream completely? Well, stick around and let's talk about it. Hey guys, I'm Sprague, and I've been investing in crypto since about 2014, so you could say I'm an early adopter and believer in what crypto is trying to do. So I don't say what I'm about to say lightly. I think crypto needs regulation. And before you go down in the comments and complain that crypto is all about giving power back to the little guy, just hear me out. But just quickly, if you do enjoy my content or just this video, please do consider subscribing down below for more like it. Ever since the GameStop short squeeze happened, there's definitely been a shift to an anti-establishment sentiment in the retail investor community, particularly within the age group of 18 to 35. This unfortunately means that a lot of people are entering the crypto market with the preconceived idea that stocks and retail are rigged against us, and that in fact crypto is the only way that we are going to get out of any sort of financial difficulty, purely because it's not controlled by any big companies or the government. Unfortunately though, money is a big enough motivator to cloud a lot of people's logical reasoning and cause them to actually fall for things that they might not have fallen for, which certainly isn't new to crypto by any means. I'm sure most of you know about Charles Ponzi, who suckered in a bunch of people by offering extremely high returns to part investors from their cash. And with so many sheep entering the market, it was only a matter of time until the wolves came out. This is compounded tenfold by the media and major journalistic publications. It seems impossible to avoid articles now where they're telling you what to invest in, that X crypto has pumped to the moon, or that if you'd invested $100 back in Microsoft in the 80s, you'd have $1 million now, without actually telling you that that would have been a complete crapshoot. Because at the end of the day, these companies only care about their bottom line, and they get paid depending on how many clicks their articles get. So they don't care that they're feeding into this mentality that getting in early or picking obscure investments that have little to no fundamentals is the only way that you're going to be able to get yourself out of financial difficulty. At no point do they make any mention of the fact that the high returns in crypto are because crypto is insanely risky, and that in reality, crypto should just be a small part of your portfolio and not the entire thing, which is a stark contrast to the sentiment within the crypto community that it's all or nothing. On top of this, the exact same media publications will then post "I told you so" articles anytime crypto falters, saying, well, we knew it was going to crash. This then leads to the communities built around the coins talked about first going, see, I told you this investment was a good idea, this media outlet says so, but then in the same breath saying that that media publication is stupid because they're naysaying crypto. The problem is that these communities don't think about the fact that if that article was just jumping on the trend of the coin rising, they're probably also just jumping on the trend of the coin dumping, and that actually they know just as little as everyone else. This is compounded by the fact that a lot of the communities that form around specific coins just turn into echo chambers, where legitimate criticism is downvoted to oblivion by anyone who's invested and hopes that their investment is not going to go wrong. This means that any actual genuine criticism and even evidence of shady activity within the company that created the coin can get completely buried beneath mountains of shilling. This can lead newer investors to think that what they're getting into is completely above board, when in actual fact there's a ton of seedy stuff going on under the surface. You also have to consider the fact that a lot of the information that we see comes directly from the company that made the coin. And of course, they have a vested interest in that coin doing well. They're hardly going to tell you about all the downsides of it. The thing is, if a coin is being shilled strongly, chances are they just have a very good marketing department who's just hiding away all of the negatives to that particular coin or chain. Because if you've watched my videos, you'll know there is no perfect chain. There is no perfect coin, and there's no perfect platform. Everyone who says that there is just lying to get you to invest. But the thing is that even listening to people like me, reputable content creators who try and do their best to ensure that we're giving you enough information for you to do your own due diligence, can't be trusted 100%. Now, I can't comment on other crypto influencers, but I myself do try and ensure that everything I put in my videos can be backed up by evidence that has been posted online and is public. But the problem is, without spending days, weeks, or even months digging through source code, blockchain data, or potentially purely hearsay data sources, there's no way for me to 100% guarantee that something I've covered won't rug. And as much as I would love to do everything I just said, I'd have no time to actually make the content and give you the information. And this is the thing, without regulation, there is just so much information that a potential investor would have to sift through, and so much information that they just don't have access to make an informed decision. And while a lot of us who've been in the crypto scene for many years can just sense a scam coming from a mile away and have become kind of numb to people getting scammed because we say, well, of course that was a scam, of course that was gonna rug. Realistically, how can we expect to attract a more risk-averse audience coming from stock investing, where everything is relatively above board and safe, to enter the crypto markets, where even after doing hundreds of hours of research, they still might get rugged? And you also have to consider that crypto in itself is complicated. There's a lot of stuff that I have to leave out of these videos that would be required knowledge just purely to understand what's going on. The fact that if you're investing in stocks, you can just pick an index fund and put money in it is super easy. Anyone can do it with about an hour worth of reading up things online. But crypto is not the same. You'd get suckered into 1,000 scams if you just did an hour worth of research on each thing that you throw your money at. And on the vein of things that aren't being understood but are being mass purchased is NFTs. People are piling into them right now, thinking that what they're buying is a one-of-a-kind piece of art. The problem is, this isn't true. When storing data on the blockchain, the cost is relative to how big the data is. This means that storing an image on a blockchain is actually prohibitively expensive. So instead, the NFT images are actually stored on centralized servers around the world and served via IPFS, or Interplanetary File System. And then it's only the link to that file that is actually written to the blockchain. So when you purchased that NFT, what you actually bought was a link with provenance. But the problem is that because the image itself isn't stored on the blockchain and is just on a server somewhere, it means that it's not static, and the actual image itself could be removed or replaced at any time. But what does this actually mean? Let's use the common example of the Mona Lisa. If you owned the Mona Lisa, you would own not only the Mona Lisa, but also the provenance, or the history of that painting. What this means is that no one could switch out the Mona Lisa for another painting, but keep the Mona Lisa's provenance attached. On the other hand, this is exactly the case with NFTs. Let's say that you bought a Bored Ape, and in 6 months the server owners default on their payment and their server gets taken away from them. Well, now what you've effectively got is a dead link with provenance. The thing is, you could still sell the Mona Lisa even without its provenance because you still own the art. It would just be worth less. Whereas if the NFT did not actually have an image attached and only had the provenance, it would be worthless. You can sell a piece of art without provenance, but you can't sell provenance without the art. And this is where I start to have a problem with the lack of regulation in the crypto space. I've seen countless people getting mad at the fact that people are copying their NFTs and using them as their own, saying that they own that piece of art. But it's just false. Neither the person that copied the art or the NFT holder actually owns that art. It's the copyright and server owner that does. And just to be clear, I don't say this to place blame or make fun of NFT buyers for not understanding what they're buying. Because if you take a look at, for example, the Bored Ape Yacht Club's website, they make absolutely no mention of the fact that the image itself is not written to the blockchain. In fact, they actually go into great detail about how the provenance is built, making it sound like the hashed image is actually being written to the blockchain, when in fact the image hashing and storage of that image is all done on a centralized server, with only the link and the image attributes being written to the blockchain as metadata. And the thing is, if they were forced to adhere to the standard customer protection acts, you could argue that this is actually probably a form of misselling or misrepresentation. As a consumer or an investor, it is on us to do our due diligence on what we're putting our money into. But the thing is, not everyone has the required technical knowledge to go sifting through all of this data and reading through technical jargon to understand exactly what's going on behind the scenes. And it should be give or take. We certainly should still have to do our own research and make an informed decision, but it should also be an expectation that the thing that we're investing in or purchasing is what it says it is and isn't trying to make it more complex to hide what it actually is. So what could regulation actually mean? I'm sure many of you have been following the SEC case against the Ripple Foundation, but if you haven't, their argument is basically that being a controlled asset, XRP falls under the category of a security. However, as much as people like to rag on Ripple for being centralized, and if you'd like to see a video on why Ripple actually isn't what people think it is, leave me a comment down below. There's one thing you can say, and that's that Ripple is not a security. The wording around what actually defines a security is fairly specific. It's a share representing ownership of a company, or it's a share of debt owned by a company or government. So looking at this definition, Ripple is not a security, because owning Ripple does not give you any stake of the Ripple Foundation company. However, it gets unclear when you consider that owning Ripple, or really any crypto, does give you ownership of a small portion of the decentralized platform that coin belongs to. So then this raises the question, could you just change the wording of what a security is and say, well, by owning any number of coins of a platform, you now own a stake in that network, and expand it to not only be a stake of a company, but also a stake of a distributed network? Well, no, because the knock-on effects of making that decision would have massive ramifications in the crypto space. For example, how could a decentralized platform actually register with the SEC, considering that there's no one company that's actually in control of the entire thing? No one could actually come forward and register it because there is no owner company. And to make an owner company would be to remove the decentralization, which would effectively just kill crypto. The big complexity with trying to regulate crypto is the fact that for everything else, there is a company or an entity behind the thing being regulated, so that if they broke the law at any point, that company or entity could be held accountable. And this is why people don't break the law. But when the ownership is thousands, if not millions of people all over the world, who do you hold accountable when a law is broken? And this is a sentiment that's echoed by a large portion of the crypto community, that you can't regulate a decentralized platform. And while you can't directly regulate a decentralized platform, you can still regulate the on-off ramps, which will always be required to turn fiat into crypto. For example, the government would find it incredibly difficult to actually enforce a law that says you're no longer allowed to transact in Bitcoin, purely because Bitcoin is pseudo-anonymous. They would have to spend hundreds of man-hours tracking down every single person that broke that law. They could, however, make it completely illegal to purchase Bitcoin. This would then mean that the only way to actually acquire Bitcoin would be to go through shady methods. And while this wouldn't technically kill Bitcoin, there's no way that it's going to get mainstream adoption if people have to actively skirt and break the law to acquire it. And I think this is one thing that people who are echoing the sentiment of you can't regulate a decentralized platform are missing. While we are firm believers in crypto, the mainstream are not. And if you can't use crypto to buy things in shops or transfer money to your friends without legal ramifications happening every single time, people just wouldn't use it, and it would be a dead asset class. I don't, however, think that it ever will get to that extreme. I don't think governments will ever just outright ban crypto, because I think at this point they have more to lose by doing so than they would gain. However, I do think when we do see regulation in the future, it's going to come in the form of a set of rules or outlines that coins or tokens must adhere to before they are legally allowed to be listed on an exchange. Now, obviously, this wouldn't cover DEXs. People could still get rugged by low-cap shitcoins on DEXs all they want. And this is where I think we'll see the second major piece of regulation, and that's holding crypto influencers accountable when they shill a product or get paid to shill a product that then rugs. This, to me, is actually the biggest thing that needs to happen, and it needs to happen as soon as possible. Because while we in the crypto space have developed a sort of sixth sense for smelling shitcoins, when, say, the Paul brothers shill their tokens to a much wider mainstream audience of people that don't understand crypto, they will all pile in and then get burnt. What makes this worse, though, is that when those people get burnt, the Paul brothers then step back, wipe their hands of it and say, oh, well, I was an investor and I got scammed just like you guys. When in reality, they made the token. They started the coin. But their audience won't do that digging, they won't care. They will just see it as, well, I got scammed by crypto. And they'll forgive the influencer, but they will always have a bitter taste in their mouth because of what happened. At the end of the day, crypto is still the Wild West. And in an ideal world, we wouldn't need regulation and people would just make better decisions, and these scams would naturally go away if people stopped falling for them. But if the recent NFT rush and the amount of people losing money and getting burned by throwing their life savings into low-cap shitcoins has taught us anything, it's that the mainstream needs someone to look out for them. I just hope that when crypto regulation does come, because it will, it's crafted by people who know and understand crypto and can safely craft laws that don't have massive impact and ramifications such as the infrastructure bill would have done. If any of you are interested, there is actually a really interesting video where a crypto expert speaks to a government committee panel, basically prepping them to start creating crypto regulation and giving them required information, and I'll link it down below. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave me a like down below. If you disagree with everything I've said and think that crypto should be every man for himself, leave me a comment and I will happily argue with you on it. And if you just generally enjoy the video and my content, please do consider subscribing. Thanks for watching. Bye.